Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about Andrew Yang and why Andrew Yang should excuse millennials from voting for him or any other candidate. This is before we go any further. One, there are no spoilers in this for anything, but it's this is the I do political commentary every day, and this is the deep end of the pool. So I'm going to appreciate your patience on this subject. And also, I really enjoy doing commentary a lot. And today's subject makes me really, really sad. And so I just wanted to kind of, so if it seems like my timber's a little low than normal, that's why. But I want to talk about this because I think it's really important. And there's another reason I want to talk about this today, and that is so basically when it comes to when it comes to politics, a ton of people, most people are just massively disengaged when it comes to politics. Very few people are actually are really engaged when it comes to politics because politics is incredibly difficult. You have to listen for signal, you have to ignore noise, and and the other thing is it makes you look at all of culture and society, and some of the things you find are really dark. And I think we're looking at a little bit of this today. Most people are very aware of the climate issue, right? Like Earth's turning into a burning hellscape, right? So that's a huge problem, right? And we really need to we have a lot of work to do to fix that, right? And everybody, and one of the things you see is a lot of people don't want to engage on that issue because it's so dark, right? Today's topic is a little dark, so I just wanted to give a warning before I go forward. All right, so I think I have come to a new understanding, and it is my opinion that Andrew Yang should excuse millennials from voting for him, and excuse them for voting for anyone. Right? I have, we're all aware that millennials just don't vote at the rate that older people vote, right? And we've been looking at this because it's really important, right? And actually, Tom Steyer in the last debate said we really need to rally the young, and I'm good at rallying the young. For a long time on this channel, I've been saying this is a trap. Do not spend time trying to rally the young to vote. And the reason why is it's been done a million times before, and it hasn't worked. It literally failed in 2016, and so and it's a clarion call from the Dems because Dems have a huge amount of goodwill with young voters, right? So why on earth would Andrew Yang excuse millennials from voting for him or any other candidate? Well, there's a reason, and I'm gonna dig into it. Let's dig into this, all right? So here is the reason that I think millennials should be excused from voting for Andrew Yang or for any other candidate. Okay, and the reason is love. All right. So love is a hugely important thing to humans, right? And certainly to Americans, right? And I think with maybe 1 in 100 people don't want love in their life, right? Maybe one in, it's incredibly rare. Maybe it's a little higher than that, but most people want to be loved, right? And love is an incredibly complicated, complex issue, right? Now, I'm incredibly blessed. I married my spouse 28 years ago. I'm deeply in love with my spouse, and my spouse deeply loves me. And so I'm incredibly fortunate, right? But one of the things I've been looking at, especially when we're looking at this issue of millennials versus old voters, and how do we pave this road to the White House? And you would think that millennials are going to be part of the solution. I don't think so, and I'm going to give you my reason why today. All right, so let's talk about love. All right, so there's two models for love. The first model is ancient model love. Okay, that's what I was married under, right? And it has so ancient model love has one axis, and that axis is gender. Okay, and under the ancient model of love, gender coincides with preference. Okay, which is another axis, but it really didn't matter in the ancient model of love because gender was paired with preference previously, right? So an old model of love would be two people come together and have one child, right? It's a very basic presentation of the ancient model of love, right? I was married under that model, right? Now, let's talk about the second model of love, which is modern model of love, okay? Modern model love. This is what the millennials are moving forward to find love through, right? and it is complicated. All right. So one, there are 4 axes of modern model love. What are the 4 axes? First is gender, right? Right out of the gate, we don't even need to go further than the first axes to find additional complexity for millennials. So first and foremost, under my model, there were 2 recognized genders. We now understand that that's wrong, and that there are there are far more than 2 genders, right? So under the modern model of love, on the first axis, there's already additional complexity for millennials, right? Because gender is no longer isolated to 2. It now has multiples. And we're trying to figure out what that number is. We don't even know that number yet. We just know it's not 2, right? Preference. So here's the second one, right? So under ancient model love, you had gender and preference paired. Okay, they were together, right? Now gender and preference are no longer paired, right? There's no correlation between them, right? That's modern model love, right? The third axis of modern model, so you have 2 axes so far, gender and preference. Third axis of modern model love is plurality. Okay, when I went and fell in love with my spouse, there was a recognized pattern of one person marries another person, right? That's gone. Polyamory is here. Plurality. We now understand there's this third axis of modern model love, right? And then the fourth is catalyst, right? And catalyst is really important. The fourth axis of modern model love is catalyst, which is saying we already recognize 3 axes of modern model love, one with higher complexity than the old ancient model. And we also know that those 3 aren't the only new axes. There's a fourth, at least another axis of love, and I'm just going to call that catalyst, right? It might be different by community, it might be different by individual, it might be different by time, it might be different by location, but we know there are additional axes, so we're just going to call that fourth one catalyst. So modern model love has 4 catalysts, has 4 axes: gender, preference, plurality, and catalyst, right? And that is a massive cultural and societal change. It is a massive cultural societal change, and the millennials are right there at essentially the start of modern model love, right? Where it's really at scale, and we're moving toward dropping this into place for our culture and our society. Okay. Now we talked about ancient model love. Example: two people have 1 child. Okay. Let's talk about an example of modern model love, right? 4 people, 3 genders, 2 have 1 child together, and 3 people in that 4-person relationship function as parents. That's modern model love. And that's one of the things that modern model love can supply that ancient model love cannot. There are people who are going to be very comfortable in a model like that. 4 people, 3 genders, 2 people have a child, 2 of those people have a child, 3 people in that relationship serve as parents, right? There are going to be people who they were being shoehorned into the ancient model of love. They didn't have these other additional options, right? And now they can fit. They can build a really unique unique example like this, right? Now, so why do the millennials have a problem on love, right? Well, here you go. Millennials are on the bleeding edge of love. So I work in technology, and we know, and in technology, there are bleeding edge technologies. What is a bleeding edge technology? Well, it's a technology that has fewer applications, major problems, and limited support. But everybody wants it. Okay? We see this all the time. In cell phones, it's like it happens every 6 months. So you get this brand new cell phone, it's super hot, everybody wants it, but when it comes out, there are fewer applications for it, it has major problems, and it has limited support, right? That's exactly where millennials are right now on love. They are on the bleeding edge of love, and they're the ones that are doing the bleeding, right? So application, right? Fewer applications. How are there fewer applications for love? Well, one of the biggest ones is kids, right? Children. That used to be an application for love. It was a purpose for love. It was an understood benefit of love, right? Or it was a recognized, right? And now that's not the case at all. There's a huge number of people, especially among the Dems, saying we can't take it for granted that having another person is a good thing, right? And we also can't take for granted that having a child is an application of love. These are all things that were taken for granted before, assumed, and now under the new modern model of love, we're going to start to break assumptions down, right? So that we can make this modern model of love that will allow people who have really unusual structures that they want to establish for themselves to move forward, right? So basically, also major problems. Here's a good example. Like polyamory is a major thing that is spinning up right now, and under polyamory, a major problem you could run into today is you bring three people into a relationship. It's assumed by those three people that everybody understands that type of relationship, and you move forward. But then, 6 months, 6 years down the line, you find one person within that three really didn't. Two people did, one person didn't. That's a major problem, right? And the millennials have to deal with this because this is all new, right? Just like bleeding edge tech, right? And then limited support, right? Basically, our society is moving toward where we are trying to make sure that there are adequate models of love for everyone, right? But right now, there's limited support. A lot of people don't even understand what's happening, right? And the support that should be there for people who want to set up a 4-person, 3-gender, 2 people have 1 child, and 3 people serve as a parent model. A lot of people they don't understand that. They're not ready to support it. And the support that those people need to move forward, that those 4 people need to move forward, they're not finding it, right? Millennials are truly on the bleeding edge of love, right? With the generations, it's been lockstep, right? Silent generation, marriage and kids. This is at the macro level. Boomers, marriage, kid, divorce. Generation X, marriage, no kids. Millennials, no marriage, no kids. It's just been click, 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 click. That's how it's been going, right? And and one of the reasons why is this progression toward modern model love, right? Now, basically, you have this situation, right, where we've been moving forward with this, and you have this situation where I think where we've arrived is we really have arrived. Oh yeah, I'm sorry, I missed a part here. All right, so that 4-person, 3 genders, 2 people have a child, and 3 people function as a parent, right? That modern model love example, right? You could do that right. Millennials can do that right now, but it's incredibly high risk. The odds of them getting out the other side of that with all the people they need to fully understand it, executing it exactly the way they need to, it's incredibly likely that's going to fail, right? 25 to 50 years from now, that model example that modern model love example would be mainstream, okay? But we're not there, right? And we have to get there, and it's already proving to be painful, right? Now, who's paying for that pain? It's millennials, right? And I've been looking at this for a while, and being convinced of this is just growing. One of the reasons why is the messages we're seeing in entertainment. I'll give you 3 examples. Last Christmas, an incredibly capable millennial in a romantic comedy, in a romance movie that ends up with loving no one, right? Dollface. That it's a brand new show. Hulu created it. I watched every episode. It is about 4 millennial women, all who are super intelligent, all who are super capable, and every single one of them has incredibly broken relationships throughout the entire show, the entire series, right? Frozen 2, same thing. Like these are all major high-end entertainment that's saying for millennials, the new model is no love, right? And you could just see it. And these entertainments are being built to fill the gap where millennials are like, this romantic comedy doesn't make sense to me, right? 2 people falling in love and they're having 1 kid. Who's looking for that now, right? Like, and because we're moving to the modern model of love, and you're giving me entertainment with the ancient model, right? But now modern model love entertainment is arriving, and it is fully showing that for many, if not the vast majority of millennials, no love is the reality, right? And it is the response that's happening from this modern model love. And the reason why is the millennials, right? Okay, the boomers and Generation X, they had a terrible track record with love, with one axis, right? In fact, they would move toward love quickly, right? Both boomers and Generation X, and they would hit a wall, right? Now, a good example of hitting a wall would be a divorce, right? Nobody wants that. It's not like that's never anyone's goal, right? But it was happening like the majority of the time, right? So millennials are looking back and they're going, okay, the last two generations couldn't get love right with one axis. We have four, right? So the vast majority of millennials are just checking out and they're like, I have no chance. And they're right. I actually believe, it is my opinion, right, that millennials, 1 in 50 millennials will find love without hitting a wall first. 1 in 50. Right? And so, very, very logically, I think millennials are saying, no way, I'm not going down this road. It totally makes sense to me, right? Now, so millennials are the first generation in history where love is probabilistically non-functional for them. Probabilistically non-functional, okay? It means when they enter in and they head toward love quickly, right? And that's the only way you head toward love. You head toward love quickly. When you enter in and you head toward love, for them, probabilistically, it's going to be non-functional. 1 in 50, like millennials, I think will find love, and I think they know it, right? And this is one of the reasons why we're seeing so many unusual things with this millennial generation, right? So we now have this understanding that the millennials are the first generation in history where love is probabilistically non-functional. I'll tell you right now, people are worried about the Earth turning into a burning hellscape. That's minor compared to looking at a future where probabilistically love has become non-functional, right? Now, the reality is we're building this new modern model love, right? And 25, 50 years from now, that example I gave you, 4 people, 3 genders, 2 of them having 1 child, and then 3 of those people choosing to function as a parent for that child, the 3 parents will get it, the 1 non-parent will get it, they'll all get it from a polyamory perspective, the child will get it, right? We're moving toward that, right? But right now, with fewer applications, major problems, and limited support, the millennials are on the bleeding edge of love. Like, it is probabilistically non-functional for them. And people have been like, oh no, the millennials have to deal with a burning hellscape Earth. That's nothing. That's nothing compared to the idea of understanding, coming to the understanding that you have a 1 in 50 chance of finding love. That is incredible, right? And here's the thing. It alarms me to say this, but I really feel if we're truly humanity first, Andrew Yang has to realize, so, basically, millennials are now, we've given them a burning hellscape of an Earth, and we're now giving them, and now they are in a situation where love is probabilistically non-functional, and we're saying, hey, get ready to vote, right? Voting is incredibly complex. I landed on Andrew Yang after I had done commentary on 15 other candidates, right? I studied for weeks to determine who I was going to vote for. To tell these people who have no clean, green, safe Earth in their future and no love, to go through and add voting to what they need to do is cruel. I really think it's cruel. If any millennials are choosing to not vote, they have every single right to do so. I think they should get an excuse note for voting, for productivity, and for innovation. Right? In 1969, we went to the moon. Right? Right now, we're just adding apps and apps and apps to make sure there's another company who can get your tacos delivered to your house quickly. Right? Like, that's what we're doing right now. There's incredibly low innovation. Right? there surprisingly there is productivity from quite a few millennials, right? But honestly, looking at their incredibly dark future, I really think Andrew Yang should be the first candidate to extend this note to them and say, I recognize this problem you have, and I excuse you from voting for me or any other candidate. I know people are not going to like hearing this. The reason why I'm bringing it is I focus on non-intuitive things. I think this is incredibly non-intuitive, but I think it's 100% right. I truly believe millennials should be excused. They should be given an excuse note for voting productivity and innovation within their generation, because they're the first generation in history to have an Earth that's not clean, green, or safe, and to have love as a and to have love be probabilistically non-functional. All that's my opinion. I'd love to hear your opinion. Let me know in the comments below. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.